Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Two Dads Review Podcast. We are here ready to tantalize your ears with Season 7, Episode 6 of Game of Thrones. And I know you guys are just ready to get into this. There's actually a lot more talking, a lot less fighting than I actually thought was going to be happening. So we got a lot to talk about today. We'll try not to make it a marathon like last week, but I can't promise anything. My name's Clay. I'm
My
one of the two
name.
dads. Yep, I don't even know where that came from. And cuddled up next to me via the internet is
Oh, you
the
got
second dad.
yeah, dad number two. You got Slother over here. How's everybody doing?
We're ready to rock and roll. Couple things before we get started. Don't forget to head on over to twodadsreview.com. That'll take you to our Audio Boom site where you can listen to the podcast, of course. So you can also find links to the iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, and TuneIn versions of our link also. It's all there. If you want to go to Two Dads Review on YouTube, you can just search for us there. I believe the link is on the website as well. And after the show, after you listen to the podcast, feel free to continue the conversation over on Twitter and Facebook. Instagram and Tumblr all are available at Two Dads Review. Just search it. You can find it. The links are also on the website as well. And just remember, the only way this community grows, which it continues to do every week, is if you guys share it with everybody else that you know that you think will even enjoy this. One more note before we get started. We don't forget that September 5th is the season premiere of Season 7 of American Horror Story, which is what this show will switch to after the next week's episode 7 of Game of Thrones. So we're super excited about that. Sloth Bear loves clowns, and there's a shit ton of clowns. I just watched the trailer a few minutes ago that they dropped for this season, and it's a lot of clowns.
Oh, that's
Did you know that?
that's garbage.
Did you know it's all clowns?
No, but I mean I'm gonna watch every freaking second of it. Probably halfway leaning around a blanket or something, man.
Fetal position.
Yeah, just shivering in the corner. Had to tape my
Yeah, so
eyelids open.
you all are gonna want to tune in for that season, for that review at this podcast, because it's going to be hilarious, because there is no one in this world I know that hates clowns more than Corey, than Sloth Bear over there. So it's gonna be fun. So without further ado, let's get into the episode 6 discussion. The title of the episode is Beyond the Wall. And before we get too started, there's a couple things. Pre-discussion, when it comes to the opening credits and all the nice map flyovers, like, can we just get some Targaryen sigils on the Dragonstone pop up? Because there is not a single dragon sigil on that thing at all. And I'm like, everybody else, the Starks have got theirs. Even Jon has his like reverse wolf, like it's the White Wolf on Winterfell. They still have the Baratheon stag at King's Landing, just because that's in theory what it still is. But I was like, come on, can we just get some dragons on some of the spots on the intro? So we start with actually a pretty cool transition.
Hold on though. Why? She doesn't got any land.
She's at her castle. She is now in her castle. Her castle, when it's doing the pop up in the credits, should show her sigil.
Yeah, but that's not what she wants. Like she wants the
Okay.
main thing, like, and
She wants her sigil at King's Landing.
yeah, and maybe that's also like some kind of foreshadowing, like they always do. Like she's just not gonna make it.
Well, you never know. Well, we do know. We're gonna know sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
All right, so we start north of the wall, but we do a cool little transition before we get there, as they fly over the map table at Dragonstone and pretty much just dump you right where the guys are at. And so we're sitting there with our merry band of men, which from my counting at the beginning ranges anywhere from 10 to 13 people walking. I swear to God I've counted 13, but I think even the producer said 12. So, and by the end of the episode, I think 12 is the right number, but I know I've counted 13 more than once in the very beginning of this episode. You got the Hound, Tormund, Beric, Thoros of Myr, Jon, and Jorah and Gendry are the main 7 that are there, and then you have some what we're going to call red shirts through the episode, because they're just there so we don't kill off too many of the other folk. So with all the fighting that's going to happen later on, we do get a lot of banter with this group for a while. So some of it was pretty funny. Gendry's talking about have never seen snow, and then for all of us who live in certain areas of Virginia, it's just funny when people talk about what they think is really far south. So Tormund makes a comment that Winterfell is in the south, and Jon says that's the north. He's like, you never been south. They end up with some cold balls back and forth talk, and Tormund comes out with his lines of ways to stay warm. He says that walking's good, fighting's better, and fucking's best. And then Jon ends up saying, well, there's no living woman for 100 miles. And then Tormund replies with we make do with what we've got. And a lot of folks I was reading and listening to were talking about that he was joking at Gendry, and I actually think that it was more of a reference back to something that happened in season 4 in episode 9 of season 4 when he's sitting around with Ygritte and the rest of the people who are getting ready to attack Castle Black, and he tells the story of Sheila the Bear and her getting it on. And in fact, I've got a sound clip from that episode, so I'm going to play it right now so everybody can hear it.
Did I ever tell you about her? Sheila.
Yes.
Oh, that was a night to remember. Of course, I'd had a good bit to drink. Her fangs were sharp, but she knew how to use them. And she was nice and soft down below. Oh, she was no ordinary beast. Benny's the man with a...
I know you never fucked a bear. You know you never fucked a bear. Right now, I don't want to think about the bear you never fucked.
So that's what I think he was really talking about and referencing. What did you think of that clip?
Oh, it's great. It's hilarious. But yeah, I could see it because he kind of reminds me of like the cool dude, but he's only got like 7 stories because not a whole lot other than killing people's happened in his life.
That's right. He's really good at it too.
So like this is he's always playing pranks too. Like I think it's just one of those stories that like he tells everybody just to kind of like figure him out. And I feel like he was ramping up because he was gonna tell it again.
He's like, it's my annual telling of when I fucked the bear.
Yeah. He's like someone brought up ladies out here. And so now I got jokes.
Right. So at least I at least think it had a dual meaning. He could have been messing with Gendry, but I also think he was referencing that story, which is pretty cool. And then he goes on and talks with Jon about Dany and more importantly about Mance Rayder. He was talking with Jon about not wanting to bend the knee, and he's been in the North too long, and he's real comfortable saying he doesn't want to bend the knee. And he does say. How many men died because Mance Rayder never bent his knee? Or how many men died because of his pride? Yeah.
He kind of calls Jon out on some, a little bit of BS, but at the same time, it's like I get it, it was, I don't know. I kind of took it as like a double meaning, like don't be dumb, but also at the same time, like you got to do what's best for your people, because I mean, Mance always did that.
Right, and what's your pride worth if you're worried about people leaving, not backing you anymore, but you're also not sending all of them to die when you could easily just chill out, like accept the fact that you need to bend the knee to her and then combine the forces that you have. I guess it's definitely got a little serious there, and then and then we go right back to joking because Gendry's complaining about them selling him when he was with the Band of Brothers and they sold him to the Red Witch.
Oh yeah, he's still all butthurt. But I like how they all had like their own little explanation. Like he's lost an arm or he's died 7 times. Like yada yada yada. Like get over
right,
it, dude.
He's died 7 times. You haven't heard him griping about it.
Yeah. Everybody's had some BS.
Right. And then Jon and Jorah go back and forth about their fathers. More father talk like last week's episode, actually. And Jon actually tries to give Longclaw back to Jorah. He's, telling about how much he respected Jorah's father, and he knew that he had knocked the bear off the end and put a white wolf on the end of the pommel, of the sword. So it was kind of a neat little gesture. Except like of all the times, like so this is one of, we're gonna start now. This is one of my first gripes of the episode.
Okay, get it out
why-
the way.
And I want to apologize for the folks who are like listening to this in their car with their kids, because there's going to be a lot of quoting lines in this show, and a lot of folks were cursing, but this is just me right now. Why the fuck would you give him your sword in the middle of this long ass hike? Like, oh, are you just gonna switch? Are you're gonna just trade up? You're like, hey, I'll take your daggers, and I'll give you my sword. I've only been wielding for the past 6 fucking years. So I'm like, of all the times, I understand the gesture. But really, he's not going to seriously take it from you. He's been using daggers the whole time. He's comfortable with those things.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it was just one of those things. Just look, because the show is so fantastic overall. There's it's real easy for us to do this, for us to do a little bit more complaining than we normally would, because we don't expect this from this show. We expect concise storytelling that tells me nothing for so long and then reveals it all at once. Sometimes I don't feel like that's what's happening this season. I feel like that I take that back, and we'll talk about this later. I pray that there is such an underlying story that we don't know, that we're seeing all this, like, why are you just giving us this? Why are you just making us with these stupid plot lines? But there is this underlying, like, look how. And I'm just waiting for this big reveal, and I hope it comes, and if it doesn't, it's going to be a little bit of a letdown at the end of the season.
I don't think there's going to be some crazy reveal other than another brother and sister are going to make a new incest baby.
Oh, good. You brought up my second point before we move to the next scene. Let's start a count during this review of how many times we talk about children or heirs or future children or not having children. So in the middle of John and Jorah's conversation, he's like, "You want to give this sword to the son you're gonna have? Like, you're gonna have a son." Like, okay, cool. Like, all right. It's also a weird thing to talk about right here in the middle of all this. Like, we could be dead in 2 minutes. So. And let me just put it this way: we all know who's listening to this. This is not the only mention of it this entire show. It's kind of a running theme. So. Anyways, I digress. Let's move on.
Yeah, I wish everybody could have seen my eye roll as, like, yeah, they do talk about the babies all day long.
Yeah, the whole time. Right. So, all right. Anything else on this scene before we move on?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, scene 2. We are at Winterfell, and we are with Sansa and Arya, and they are at the second. It's pretty much the courtyard, the overview of the courtyard that everybody stands on when they're looking down at the courtyard at, like, the sparring and all that other stuff. And Arya goes on this. It's story time again. Arya goes on the tale of when she was younger and Ned was still alive, and and she tells the story of when Bran had left. I believe it said Bran had left his arrow in the courtyard, his bow and arrow in the courtyard. And she went down and picked it up and started firing at the arrow at the target, and she had to keep walking down and get the arrow and come back and do it over and over again. And when she finally hit the target, all she heard was clapping from the balcony they're standing on, and it was her dad. And she said, I knew it was against the rules, but he was smiling, so I knew it wasn't wrong. The rules were wrong.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a great quote.
Yeah, she's full of life lessons, like, these days, man. Like, she's pulling a Tyrion, but her stuff's legit, quoting herself.
Well, I wish she'd take some of her advice, truthfully. There's just sometimes there's still, but she drops this great line, and then she goes on to blame her. So she drops the knowledge that she has the letter, the raven that Sansa wrote from King's Landing when she was married to Joffrey, or almost married. I can't remember. No, I guess almost married. And she said, now they were talking about father. She said, now he's dead, killed by the Lannisters with your help. And it's like, no, not really. And then she goes on to tell her, I remember the dress you're wearing. I remember the way you had your hair did. And she acts like that she was just up there just being all pretty princess. But what she chooses to leave out of what she remembers is the fact that Sansa was literally having to be with, like, held back by one of the guards on the stage and she was like screaming, trying to run to her father. Like, it's like, did you like, you didn't think, she didn't look like she wanted to be up there, did you? You know, she didn't know this was going to happen. I just think Arya's being, it's so dumb. It's so dumb. That's why I feel like there's an underlying, there's something that she's not. I feel like she's putting on a show because she knows Littlefinger hears all when it comes to wherever he's at, and I want to believe that she's putting on a show.
I mean, I think she
we
may
haven't
be,
talked
but I
about
also
this
think
yet.
she doesn't trust her sister. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, Sansa calls her out, you know, and was like, you know, I didn't see you run up there, you know, and doing all this other stuff, and they're having this like, I've had it harder than you kind of like griping match, but I just think that Arya really just has an agenda that she really needs to get back on personally, and she doesn't trust her. Like, I mean, I don't really like. There's not another way to put it, because if you really look at like the history of it, she's never really not been with the wrong people. You know, and like I always said, like she always does something dumb where I'm like, you could have just not did that, you know? Like, and Arya's point is like, you should have died for us, yada yada yada, like, you know, that.
Right.
And she's kind of like, well, I'm here now trying to do what I can, you know, so what do you want me to do, basically?
Right. I want to touch on this later on in the episode, because I just, and I know what you're saying, and I agree with it to a certain extent, but I think I just want to believe that there is something more subdued going on between the two of them. Like, they're almost,
I think,
yes,
well,
there's an anger there, but I almost think there's something else that's going on between the two of them that's almost like a trap for Littlefinger.
Well, yeah,
I want it to be a trap for Littlefinger.
Yeah, I mean, I really hope like that is the plan. Like I'm hoping that behind one of those, you know, happen behind closed doors kind of things that we just don't know about, they struck up some agreement, you know, like they had their sister talk and we're like,
Right.
oh my god, you suffered that, and then like, yeah, you went through this, and then they got all buddy and now they're like, okay, we got to get Littlefinger out of the picture, but we need his army. So how do we do that?
Right.
You know.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're definitely coming back here. So don't fall off of this train too fast. We're coming back here, but we're gonna move on to the next scene because we come back to Winterfell later on. So we're back up north again. We pretty much just flip flop between north of the Wall and King's Landing, or not King's Landing, Winterfell for the whole episode, which is kind of a nice. Now we know why the season was delayed so much, because there's so much filming where it had to be like snowing half the time. Because I also watched the behind the scenes stuff that HBO puts up.
Well, yeah,
And half
filming
of that stuff was shot on location in Iceland.
Yeah, I was gonna say filming in Iceland is not easy. I mean, wife and I went there for our anniversary, and like they have shirts in the store that say "Don't like the weather, wait 15 minutes." Like, so like that is how drastic it changes in the blink of an eye out there.
Right. I can believe it. And there are a lot of those shots, those big long sweeping shots were all on location. Like, hey, here's some friggin' snow. Go hike through it. We'll film you.
Yeah.
So let's see. We pick up with the 12. I counted again. There's 12. So we're gonna go with 12 as a number. All right, that's the number we're going with because it does finally even out. But there at the beginning, it was a little bit shoddy. The Hound and Tormund, which I'm not sure if those two have been on screen together before this season. They should. I want to see a spin-off of those two, like on like adventures together, because they're hilarious. They are fantastic.
I don't think they're gonna make it out of here. You know.
Oh, by the end of this, yeah. Well, you're probably right, especially with what's happening. Yeah, there's stuff in the future that's going to happen that we'll bring up later on. Also, that's great.
Yeah, I don't think anyone from this like cast is gonna really make it. Like the whole last season is gonna end up being like some fast forwarding part where they're all just old, and then it's like all of a sudden you see their kids and they start telling a story about them, and
Nice.
then next thing you know, you got like a spin-off. There we go.
Well, there's only one episode. I'm not sure if we're gonna have much fighting. I hope they don't cliffhanger us next episode. I really don't. So.
Yeah, like sometimes you guys just got to get over yourselves, all right? Just let it happen.
Right.
Like, damn, give it me what I need.
They've been doing that, and we've been bitching about it. So I don't. It's like you're giving us what we've always wanted, and now I don't know how to handle this.
True.
So there's some nice ginger talk about about how he's like, do you hate wildlings? And the Hound goes, no, I just hate gingers.
Yeah.
And Tormund's like, well, gingers are beautiful. We're all kissed by fire, just like you. And I was like, oh, that's a dig. And then they go on further to they talk about Brienne, like the way Tormund starts describing his woman back home, like back at and the Hound's like, you're
Wait,
with Brienne of Tarth?
Brienne of Tarth? And I'm like, yeah, he's like, well, no, not yet, but I hope to be, you know.
Like, could you imagine our children? They would be giants. They'd take over the world.
Oh yeah, what did he say? Yeah, he said I would breed humongous. They would breed humongous giants and take over the world.
Right, and then the Hound's like, or Tormund says, I see the way she looks at me, and the Hound says, like she wants to carve you up and eat your liver.
Yep.
And then Tormund's like, you do know her.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a great little a great scene there. And then Barrett. Okay, so another gripe. Here comes gripe number. I don't know how many so far in the podcast, but so Barrick and John are talking, and they're having like some, hey, we both have been dead a few times, or you once, me like 6 times. We're having like dead buddy conversation, and he goes, you don't look much like your father. Like I suppose you favor your mother, and like he may as well once again like turn to the camera and like winked at us, like, we know what you got, we're just making sure you guys know we haven't forgotten that Ned isn't really. I'm like, we don't need that. We know you've already told us. We are sound on the fact that Ned is not Jon's father, and that Lyanna Stark is his mother. Like we understand that. So some of this stuff is too on the nose. Like you didn't need to say that. We know. Like we know.
Yeah, but I mean, again, it's like they're on a trip. All this is going down. Like, what else are they gonna talk about?
Right. Exactly.
I mean, it's and half of the stuff that and you got to be honest here. Like, half of the stuff all these guys know about each other is like
legend.
Yeah, what they've heard, like, because who was talking when he was like, you were the bravest warrior I've ever seen, and he was like, no, just the drunkest, and like,
right, we're getting
and
there,
it's like,
yeah.
oh my God, there's another crushing blow about one of my heroes.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So at the end of that scene, the Hound sees the mountain that looks like an arrowhead. So he's like, we're getting close. This is what I saw in the fire. Which someone else I read online made a joke about. So you saw a mountain while looking into a fire. Like, could it be any more on the nose for him and his brother? just because his brother's called the mountain.
Oh wow, dude! I'm not gonna lie. Little simple brain over here didn't even put that together. Like,
I didn't until I read it, but I thought it was pretty cool. So I was like, oh, that's kind of funny and on the nose. So then we switch to Dragonstone, and Dany and Tyrion are having a interesting conversation about heroes, and she's telling him that she's glad he's not brave or he's not a hero. He's like, I've been known to be heroic at times.
Yeah, and she's like, yeah, but let's be real, man. Moving on.
Right, and she's like, you're not like Jon, or you're not like, she lists off Jorah, the guy who's her lover that she left back in the city.
Drogo.
What's his name? Well, Drogon, but then, or Drogo, but I forget now. It's off the top of my head. I knew I didn't write it down, and I should have. He lists all these people that are heroes in her mind and all have fallen in love with her, and then including John, and she's like,
oh yeah, that assassin dude, right, or whatever.
right, that one. I'll remember it about 10 minutes from now, and I'll mention it. But yeah, so she, John, she looks, she's trying to play it off that she hasn't noticed like the googly eyes he gives her, and then she says like, he's too little for me. It's like,
oh yeah,
oh dang girl.
Yeah, I'd be like, that guy just like basically like palmed your dragon's head and like it was nothing, and has killed literally the scariest thing ever a couple times.
Right,
he's a bona fide badass.
Right, which she'll see later, which will change her mind immensely.
Yeah.
On that whole situation. The rest of her conversation with him deals with. It's just more of the coaching that Varys and Tyrion both were talking about last episode when it comes to trying to keep her off the crazy train. Like, you need to back up. You need to make sure Tyrion goes into mentioning with her when she does meet with Cersei, know that she is going to say some shit to piss you off. Like, that's how she rolls. Like, go into the conversation knowing that's going to happen.
Yeah, like, don't be stupid. Like, don't be so naive to think that she's not gonna purposely try to get you to do something so she can have reason to kill you. Like
it's always a trap. He says it's a trap, and she goes, "Well, are we laying any traps either?" And he's like, "Everything is cool. Jaime's going to keep them at bay. I'm going to keep you at bay. We're all going to go into this thing copacetic and have a conversation when we bring back a white." So that will be next episode. That will be interesting to see. And then Tyrion, and here we go into number 2 of the episode. Tyrion wants to talk succession of the throne. He wants to talk who's going to take the throne over when she dies. And she makes a mention again. Well, first thing she does, she tells him I can't have children anymore. And she's like, I really don't want to talk about this right now. We'll talk about this after I wear the crown. So that's just, so we're talking number 2.
Yeah, she's like, hey, hold on, man. I'm gonna leave this open-ended as possible.
Right. So, all right. So we are back to north of the wall again with our merry band of 12. We're gonna say 12. And they are in the snow has picked up greatly. There is a snowstorm that they can barely see in front of them. They have a standard formation where there's a scout in front, and he gets pretty far in front, and they get slowed down, and then they notice in the distance a polar bear. And
dude, I'm not gonna lie, I got excited.
I kind of hyped up a little bit when I saw that, because especially when Gendry of all of them was like, do bears have blue eyes?
Oh yeah, well, I'm just a huge bear fan, so I was like, oh my god, it's a White Walker polar bear. I was like, no way. I was like, they're all gonna die. I was like, there's no way they're beating this bear.
It's my spirit animal. So, bear charges. In fact, he charges straight, and the way they shot it, I don't know if they were trying to show how fast it was, or if they were trying to show how the snow messes with your direction. But like, he turned around and ran straight, and the bear was coming at him, and then all of a sudden it came from the right and took him out. And I was like, are there fucking 2 bears here? Like, this is great. Like, this is gonna be insane. Like, we're gonna lose a bunch of guys right now.
Yeah, and, I think they were kind of illustrating that, like, that guy turned right to run backwards
back to the group,
but
right.
It's so blustery and snowy out there. I think it was really illustrating that he had no idea where he was running, and he basically ran back to.
I would assume
like kind of half circled, and the bear just was like, nope.
Yep, you messed up, and you turned. You didn't turn very well. You didn't run straight enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was cool, because for just the way it was shot, it wasn't real apparent that he had turned, but that bear. So he took out 1. So they lost 3 during this fight. And then of course Thoros got like mauled. The hound froze up again because there was fire. So.
Oh yeah, Thoros, dude! That totally skipped my brain too, because I was like, what the hell is wrong with the Hound? I was like, what is? He doesn't care about anything anymore. Like, why? And I totally was like, oh yeah. And right when you said it, that he's still a little baby. He's terrified of fire.
Right. Just like fire is to him like clowns are to you.
No, look, I don't like clowns, but I'm not gonna freeze up around one and not do what needs to be done. Like, if anything, it would just enrage me more to get rid of it. Okay, I'm sorry. Going on.
No, it's fine. Defend your fears. I understand completely. Don't talk to me about snakes or spiders. I'm good.
Yeah, I'm gonna justify all my irrationalness.
That's fine, because the other portion of American Horror Story is bees, and I literally have the worst fear of bees in the world. I hate bees. I can't stand them, and so it's like clowns and bees are this season of American Horror Story, and I'm not looking forward to the bee aspect of it. So we're both gonna be in the same boat. I promise you. So Thoros gets wounded. They're like, we gotta take you back to Eastwatch, and he's like, no, just light your sword up and just cauterize the wounds. We gotta keep rolling, guys.
Yeah,
we got things to do. And he does say, he tells Beric, he goes, I just got bit by a dead bear. Like, funny old life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he's like, how are you doing? He's like, I just got bit by.
I thought it was more than just him making a joke. I almost think he was referencing the fact that he has spent his life, like, bringing the dead back to life, like bringing Beric back to life. And after all that, something that's dead and still moving gets him. Like, look
at the irony of this.
Exactly. So that's how that scene ends. They cauterize it and they keep on. They burn him up, bundle him back up, and keep on moving. So we're back to Winterfell, and of course after Sansa's confrontation with Arya, she goes straight to Littlefinger, and asks him, her questions out loud in the room, or where did she get it? And this is okay. So this is where I have to believe that there is something underlying, because they have to be smarter than this. You were at Winterfell with a whole bunch of people who were not there a long time ago, and of the people at Winterfell, literally of the people that were in the room who knew you wrote that letter, Littlefinger was in the room when Cersei told her she had to write the letter. So how does she not just step back for a second and quit thinking about her creepy sister and go, who at Winterfell right now knows this one single Raven scroll came in? Like, there's no way that she is not putting that together.
I don't think she remembers that at all. Like, I think she remembers the scroll being forced, but you remember, she was like, what, 13, 14, 12, some shit like that, even younger? Like,
are you going to tell Lyanna Mormont you were a child back then?
Yeah,
that's in their other scene.
But like, all she probably remembers seeing is Cersei sitting down in front of her, like just scaring the shit out of her, basically.
Blocking it out is a possibility. We've got to know this. She has to. If she's this stupid, then they're doomed, because they're both being really I don't know if the writers are doing it, or if that's just the way the story has to play out. If it turns out just to be like normal everyday TV show sister banter, and then we're gonna turn and we're gonna at the last second be friends and join up and kill him so Arya can wear his face and run the Vale, like. Okay, I figured that we could, if you're gonna let us know about the rest of this stuff, let us know about this, because right now it just looks dumb.
I mean, well, maybe that's the whole point. Like, maybe Sansa's supposed to play stupid, like, and the writers are like, yeah, cool, and that'll enrage all the fans. So right. There we go. We got, but maybe she is playing the, like, she is still really naive, and
because she thinks that's how he views her.
Yeah, well, yeah, like he knows that she'll, like, be kind of strict and tough, but, like, I don't want to say that she's being naive, but, like, maybe she's like making it seem that she needs Littlefinger more by, like, by her kind of complaining out loud in front of him, like, hey, I'm not gonna directly ask for your help, but you've kind of been here for everything, so I'm just gonna go ahead and pretend that, as I'm sitting here whining about my life, I know you're going to be listening, so maybe they're just kind of trying to set him up.
Right. And actually let's move on to a little bit later in that same scene where when he starts giving his advice, he mentions Brienne and saying, "Isn't she sworn to both of Catelyn's daughters? So if one was planning on hurting the other, she would have to step in." Now, so here's the options as I see it with that statement to Sansa, how she should see it. Option number one, he's suggesting that Brienne will protect Sansa if Arya tries anything. But the argument to that is, later on in the show, why would she send her down to King's Landing if she's going to lean on her for protection if Arya gets rowdy?
Well, what I think is because I think Littlefinger brought that up not because to point Brienne against Arya. I think he did it so Sansa would get rid of her because I think she's trying to make Littlefinger think that we're gonna get rid of, because obviously the same scenario would play out if
this goes into option number 2 of mine.
Yeah,
Brienne
so like again, I still think they're playing along Littlefinger and sent Brienne on a quote unquote, either they really sent her to really sell it or it's a quote unquote fake trip. I don't think she's there at all. Like, I don't think that was get out of town, on because she's dumb, I guess is the best way to put it. Like I think either her and Arya have a plan with her, or
Sansa is seriously considering harming Arya and needs Brienne gone so she can not have her step in.
Yes.
Right. That would be option. That's what I have written for option number 2. Is that that she doesn't need Brienne there to keep her from harming Arya because she feels the need that she's going to have to protect herself. And the third is what we were talking about, the whole overarching thing. She's on to Littlefinger already, and she's doing the exact opposite of what he's suggesting in the first point. Like, keep her close, she can protect you, and that's why she sends her away. That's why I'm hoping that option 3 is the case. That she's on to him, and whatever advice he gives her, she's gonna go, no, I'm gonna do the opposite behind his back and not do that. Even though he'll know she left, she has a plenty good reason of why she sent her. So that you're right. So we've covered the 3 options that I think is why, this whole, he brought up Brienne and the way that Sansa reacts to it. So I hope it's something a lot deeper than just, I'm gonna have to kill Arya, so I need her out of here. Like that just needs to not be the case.
Well,
So.
I mean, that's why Arya brought up wearing everybody's face, because she's like, I could just kill you and wear your face, or kill Littlefinger and wear his face. So, maybe they're, foreshadowing, like, okay, so
Someone's face is getting worn, god dang it.
yeah, basically, and I really wouldn't be surprised if Arya kills her. Like, I'm not, like, it wouldn't bother me at all, to be honest with you, either, because I feel like if Arya does kill her sister, there is going to be, like, a 1 bazillion% justifiable reason, and, like, all of a sudden this whole, like, behind the scene thing is going to unfold.
I can see that. I hope it doesn't come to that. Like I said, if it's just crappy sister banter writing for them to come back and, band together and kill Littlefinger, I hope we're already there. I hope that that's what we're talking about. But we'll see. I don't know. It will end up, hopefully will finish itself out this season, next episode. So I will see. All right. So we are back north of the Wall after the scene at Winterfell with Littlefinger. Jorah, this is what you talked about earlier. Jorah's talking to Thoros and asking him about, I've always wanted to ask you about when the battle on Pike, when you charged the breach. He's like, how drunk were you?
Yeah, and he was basically like, I don't even remember that. Some of the guys told me about it later.
Yeah, and if I didn't look up the battle because it happened before the show, and I didn't look it up before the episode tonight. but I think Jorah was on the other side, if I'm not mistaken. But I could be wrong. But anyways, he witnessed it, but he wasn't like right next to him to ask the question. But yeah, Thoros' response is, "I was just the drunkest."
Yeah, yeah. Don't worry about it, kid. I hacked up everybody drunk off my ass.
Right. So that was kind of cool. I think Jorah actually, he can already tell that Thoros is on his way out. So if you're gonna ask this guy who's pretty cool and can bring back, if you want to ask the guy any questions before you never get to ask him again, this is the time to ask the cool questions about your hero and or the guy that you saw on the battlefield that one time.
Yeah.
So
and have your
so
dreams
then we-
crushed
then-
either way.
Right, exactly. And so then we get into the squad of convenience that is somehow just so all we've seen the whole march down by the army of the dead is a giant mass of them. Have we ever seen any little squads or fingers, doing any sort of, scouting on one side or the other? And so they just happen to come across.
I like how you're
They
already
just happened to.
like how you're already laughing
I'm
at your
so-
anger.
I know. They happen to come across a pack of White Walkers, or a pack of whites with a White Walker in the front. And so they set up a trap, they put a little campfire down, they flank them, and they bum rush them. They do a bum rush, there's a big squad fight, no one on their side dies. It was really cool that John's got Longclaw. John knows he has Valyrian steel. John goes straight for the White Walker because he knows that I'm the one who can take him out. And I've done it before, and I've done it before in battle, so he doesn't even hesitate to go right for that guy. And he takes him out. Taking him out drops all convenience, once again, all but one of them. So somewhere before they split off from the giant mass, that White Walker was like, all right, I'll take all of you that I've raised up. Oh, hey, and Eddie, no one likes you. Just take the trail. Come on back in. You can go with us. Like, I can't really control you mentally because I didn't raise you, but just follow the guy in front of you. And Eddie's like, yeah, fine, okay, I'll follow you. And so, and then so there's one walker left. Tormund drops his axe and just right crosses the dude. This knocks the White Walker to the ground, and then they land on him, and he starts putting up the alarm, starts screaming like crazy.
Yeah, I do love. I love how the Hound just totally dove across the guy like.
Well,
the
best thing is
I'm gonna like he's jumping on a grenade. Like, it was great.
Right. And the best thing is at least these zombies don't infect you when they bite you. Like, it's not like zombie movies where like, oh, I got scratched or bit, like I'm gonna turn. Like, you got to be raised, so you can safely jump on a guy. If he bites you, yeah, you're gonna have some bite wounds, and it's gonna be gross, and you may get infection and die from the infection a long time. But it's not like he had to worry about being touched by him. And he even covers his mouth, and then half his mouth skin rips off, and he's like, ah,
yeah. He's like, yeah, that was so gross. That was great.
So let's go into my gripes again. Let's go. This is our scene by scene. Clay's griping about everything that happens in this show right now. Why does this scene happen? So I've got three options right here. One, they're telling the audience important information about killing a White Walker that will be important later on. If you kill the one that raised them, the ones that he raised will all fall at once. So it's like, okay, we go to it later. You kill the head guy, the whole army's done because he's the one that started all of it. Like, I don't think we needed to be told that. Like, we could have found that out a different way. It's almost like you may have well just flashed on the screen because it's like, come on. And then you happen to have one that isn't of the ones that walked with their maker, and then the one guy who wasn't. I was like, are we real? Like, really? So that was the first complaint. That was the first. Why does this scene happen? The second one. The second one. Now this goes into some stuff we were talking about last week, I believe, or the week before, but I think it was last week. Is I think it could be a trap by the Night King because he already knows what is happening or what has happened if he can see into the future, and he just happened to just place this one white. Like, why would you want to give them this theory portion? Doesn't make sense because you give them one White Walk. Like, why are you going to give them one white? Like, and if you're trying to trap them, do you really need to set a trap for this group? There's only 12 or 9 or however many there are right now that can be. You just take the whole army and just swamp them and they're done and it's game over. So I don't think that that's the case, but we've already seen.
I think that whole scene is just strictly there for layman terms viewing, man. Like, oh god, with miracle, when you strike a White Walker, it takes out a whole slew of them. Like, all of them were like, oh wow, did you see that happen? Did you see that happen? Yeah, holy crap, good idea. Maybe we got a game plan now. And then, because there's like one left, so they're like, oh, so that's how they're gonna put it's just stupid first building block puzzle piece.
Except it's being spoon fed to us.
Well, I mean, okay.
Squad.
All right, how else would you have presented? Like, they just stumble across a guy. Like, all right, they're gonna kidnap it. So
don't get me wrong. As of last week, we still had no clue how they were going to separate one from the herd. Like, we didn't know. Like, and this was the only. I mean, I think we even mentioned it last week. This is the only way, is that you're going to have to separate a small group and then snag one, and the group was just conveniently separated. So I don't know. I have no better way of writing it.
Well, I don't think that group was conveniently separated. I just think, like, the horse dudes in the back, obviously tell other people, like, yada yada yada, what they need to be doing, right? But there was a little ambush by John and them. Like, they put the fire there on purpose, so what's his face was like, all right, maybe this is some stray wildlings who stayed beyond the wall. Hey, Johnny left White Walker guy, go take you and a couple of your dudes and go check it out. And like, he's like, just take 6. So I think just like 6 dead people rolled with him. Yeah, I mean, I get the absurdity that, like, out of the couple skeleton dudes that came with him, only one of them wasn't connected to the hive. Like, yeah, I get that, but also at the same time, like, we got one episode left, and like, how else are we gonna get this to happen?
Agree. It may have been a scene of necessity. There wouldn't be a better way except finding it out during a big battle by killing one and watching a whole, like, platoon or battalion, like, just crumble. I mean, and then relaying that information, at least you can relay it all now up front. So it's just.
But I mean, I don't know, dude. Everybody's been doing some dumb stuff here lately, so they might.
There's a lot of dumb going on.
Well, yeah, and they might just like, as I was saying, I think that happened because, like, John and all them realized, like, what to do now, but also at the same time, like, you could have yelled at Dany as she was flying the damn thing to be like, hey, just take all 3 towards the horses, don't worry about any of these guys. So maybe they don't even, like, understand what happened. Like, I think sometimes this Game of Thrones, like, goes under the assumption that, yeah, we got dragons and magic and wizards and whatever other bonkers stuff you can think of, but they're from the Middle Ages, so they're kind of stupid. Like,
well,
they still,
yes, you're true. Yes, that's true. But John does bring up, they do learn that from the encounter. So you're right. They had to learn it somehow, and there's no way to learn it in the heat of battle. That's the best way to learn it, is that small squad. So for what they were given and what they had to present to the audience and to the little group, to then bring back to everybody who's going to fight the war, go for the guys on the horses type thing. So yeah, let's keep on going, because it gets real crazy here real quick. So John immediately sends Gendry, like Forrest Gump style, like, go to the wall and tell them to send Dany back. We're gonna need some help. Like, so you just start running, bro.
Yeah, that's like, okay, first of all, I felt like they were walking for days.
Correct. Well, he does run for the entirety of that day. he doesn't get to the wall until it's dark. So he's run for whatever time of the morning or afternoon it was. He ran the entire time.
Yeah, okay, but what I'm saying is when they were all out there in their little patrol, like looking for said zombie, I felt like that group was walking for weeks already.
Yeah.
You know, like they all made it seem like they were just so far out there. Like, what the hell?
Well,
like, I just was puzzled how he got back.
They never and this goes back to our original first few episodes about the timing and everything, and how long did folks run, and later on how long were they on that island, that kind of stuff. Like, there's a lot of time jumps here. I know they didn't. Well, yeah, we'll get because they.
I mean,
they didn't
obviously
show
they were
camping at all.
you know, I mean, yeah, like obviously they were only a couple hours out, like
Right.
you know, but I'm just saying, like, it felt like they were gone forever, and then I was like, dude, how far is this guy gonna run? Like, there's no way he's gonna make that.
Not to mention John sent the guy who's never been north, never seen snow before, never been past the wall before, never even seen the wall before that day. He's the one he sent. Hey, you know direction. Run back to Eastwatch.
Yeah, I did like that. Like, I mean, so like that's why part of me was like, okay, they must just not be like really that far away, like, cause there's no way the guy was gonna know where to go. You know, like, how was he gonna find his way out in that apparently massive blizzard that's happening?
Right. They walked for at least a good few minutes without knowing which direction they were going when that blizzard was happening. So yeah, it's a little bit unbelievable. A lot of things that are done because he has to make it back to the wall, so there's no chance whether or not he was gonna make it. You know, so let's move on. So Gendry's running, and so now. And they get the guy bundled up, and they hear the army coming, like running at him. So those guys, they bundle up the white they've got, they throw him on somebody's shoulder, and they start chugging. And they start running, and they hit, they see the army coming, they hit the ice on that lake, and the ice starts breaking, and it's like, oh, we got to stop. And then the army starts coming through that bottleneck, and they're like, no, we're just gonna run. That's cool. We're just gonna. The ice is fine. Let's go. And they head it to the middle of that frozen lake. And I really liked this shot, and it was actually a shot from the trailer last week that we saw for this episode. You see when Jon's running, they had that side shot, and you can already see the White Army coming around. They were already in circle, so their plan the entire time was to encircle this group no matter what, because you could already see a lot of the dead going. They were running past the line that Jon was on, and they were already ready to encircle him. It was great. So you knew that the Night King was going to encircle that group, at least originally, before destroying them all completely, if that ice hadn't broken. So the Whites tackle one of the guys from the group, and he falls through the ice, causing a chain reaction, and the ice gets broken in an entire circle all the way around, and the Whites don't continue on. And they're stuck on an island in the middle of this lake.
Well, yeah. Well, it's also like there was quite a large group of White Walkers that fell into the water there. But
well, I mean, go ahead.
I mean, as you find out later, that's really not that big of a deal.
I was gonna say, I've seen plenty of zombie movies where they just walk up out of the water.
Yeah.
So they're there, they're down there, and you're right.
They'll just thaw out and get back to it.
Exactly. So they get to the middle of the island, and they are surrounded by what I want to call I'm coin the term now. It's called a fucked circle, because what are you gonna do? They're just like, well, here we are. This is how we go.
Yeah. And this is gonna be bad.
So they're stuck. Then we see that night Gendry makes it to the wall. So they spent the whole rest of the day, the night there. We find out the next morning, Gendry makes it to the wall. They say we need to send Raven. So that night, Ravens went out, and I'm making a point of this because a lot of stuff online is like, how did she Raven get there in time, and how did she get back in time? So the Raven was sent that night. So the Raven flew all night down to Dragonstone. The next morning, they wake up. Thoros has died in the middle of the night. a side question to that is, why didn't the Night King raise him during the night? And he would at least taken out one or two before they killed him.
How is he going to raise them? He raises them all by touch.
No, not at Hardhome he didn't. Remember this? I'm doing this like everyone who's listening can see me raising my arms up. He did that, and they all stood up around him.
Yeah, but weren't those already dead? Like,
no, they were the people from Hardhome that didn't make it off. He could raise them without touch, even though he does have to touch the dragon, or he does decide to touch the dragon. He's done it without touch before. I'm just saying he didn't do it, which is fine. If he's gonna touch every member, that's gonna take forever.
Well, that's why they've been marching for so damn long. Takes quite a while to touch 1,500 billion dead,
right.
And that many people to die. Because you still got to remember, like, what the hell is he doing with those babies?
Yeah, we're not even. Well, I think those are what we don't know. I think people are saying that's what creates the guys on the horses, the White Walkers. So I don't know. So they burn Thoros' body smartly. So they burn him. Okay, so let me negate your point because John farted Hardhome. John knows that Thoros can be raised by the Night King, so they burn the body so he doesn't get raised later on, or when the Night King realizes that Thoros is actually dead. Maybe something, I don't know, maybe he doesn't have a sense of that, so he didn't know he's died until they were too late and he was burning the body.
Oh, yeah, or you just go under the assumption that he really pretty much was alive all night, and like when daybreak came, they're just like, they're not enough for him to like wake up, per se, and it's like, all right, he froze to death. What are we gonna do?
Right. So they go on that that morning. They talk a little bit about they talk about Beric and John go back and forth about the Lord of Light and his plans for them, and that I haven't been brought back from death 6 times, and you haven't been brought back to life once to die here on this rock, And then he points to the Night King and says, we need, after what we learned yesterday. We kill him, we kill them all. They all fall because he's the one that turned all of them. He's the original. He's the Dracula. So, and then the Hound makes a point that I think you and I mentioned last week. He's like, don't forget, Beric, this is your last life since Thoros is dead. Beric actually has that looming. Well, there's no bringing me back this time if something happens. So he gets to go through that little bit of struggle, which I'm not sure. I think that guy is pretty much just like ready to do his part and be done. But that was one of the things that was said at the end of that one.
Well, just a quick side note. I just read something that says the season 7 finale is almost as long as a feature-length film. So maybe they're gonna sum up a lot of stuff in this last episode.
You thought last podcast was long, or this podcast is long. It's going to be even better next week when it's going to be an hour and a half, 2-hour movie.
Yeah, sorry for all your ears.
That's right. I hope you're going on a long driving trip. Put us on. Let's see. Okay, so we leave the north for a second, or at least the north past the wall. We go back to Winterfell. And we'll just jump through this real quick. It's the invitation to King's Landing that Sansa receives. The Maester gives it to her, and she's gonna send Brienne. Brienne questions Littlefinger's loyalty. We go back to the point, I was making about why is she sending her. I don't quite understand this, but then Brienne asks her if she should leave. She mentions it on a side note, and it kind of gets swept under the rug. But she says, "Can I leave Pod behind? Like, he's become quite a competent swordsman. Can I leave him behind?" And I wrote this in bold, so I made sure we talk about it. I'm kind of hoping that this is what we talked about way at the beginning when Pod was getting his ass whooped, and this is going to be his. I want to believe that Brienne behind Sansa's back leaves Pod at Winterfell, like hiding. Like watching over, like in the shadows, the 2 girls, and like this may be his, when you were talking about a few episodes ago, like his crowning moment of this season is when something happens, he has to step in and save either both of them or one of them or whatever. So this could be the fact that she mentioned Pod. My ears perked up just a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That's good. But
just
I mean, but Sansa's also like no, I don't need watching. So I mean, you're right. You like gotta hope that she does it secretly.
Right. And we actually see Pod down at King's Landing in the trailer for next week's episode, so it kind of debunks that, but it may not if the time change thing in Game of Thrones and Pod has time to do something Winterfell and then get down to King's Landing. Who knows? It was just an idea that popped in my head when I was watching it. So we leave Winterfell. We're down at Dragonstone. Dany has received the Raven. I'm guessing it's the same day that we woke up on earlier, and she's heading straight. She's already in the Targaryen winter wardrobe, which was a sweet outfit she had on. That fur looking white outfit she had rocking. I thought it was pretty cool.
Oh yeah, dude. My wife was like, "That is a dope jacket." I was like, "You want it so bad, don't you?" She's like, "I do."
And as she's leaving, Tyrion's like, you should do nothing. And she says, "You told me to do nothing before, and I listened to you. I'm not doing nothing again." And beside that being a double negative and horrible grammar, I think she's like, "I'm tired. I'm not listening to you this time. I'm not doing it. I'm taking my dragons. And I'm going to get my boyfriend back." So she heads off for the dragons. All three are all heading north of the wall. And we pick up back at the island of, oh shit, there's a bunch of White Walkers. And,
I honestly thought you made a mistake. You just said, "Oh shit."
I'm just like
I was like, "It's cool, man. We can edit."
Time is no. We're good. No, we're leaving that in. No, everybody's in it. It's just the fuck circle, man. They're just surrounded by a big old greasy wall of fuck. Just ready to just nothing. What are we supposed to do? You're just sitting. And the passage of time, we don't know. We know that more time has gone because within about 10 real minutes, Dany shows up. So we know that there's been a long passage of time since we saw them. So it's probably, I'd say, I don't know, mid-afternoon of the day of that day. And
I don't know. Okay, well, hold on. Can we really tell the time of day? Because I know out there, we've seen daybreak like seasons ago when they, the first time he goes out behind the wall, but they're pretty much in like a storm because as the White Walkers walk, the storm pretty much follows them like everywhere they go. So, like, is it one of those things where it's like the sun is peeking kind of through, and is it really?
It's definitely, you're definitely able to see. And you know that it has to be a certain amount of time because she gets up there with the dragons. So it has to be at least I don't know how long it's been. I don't know.
I think she got there overnight, brother.
She left during the day. I don't think she had to fly all night for those dragons to get up there. It was only like, well, she may, I don't know.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like what's his face? Hammerman got back. Raven immediately went out because, the Onion Knight is like, get the Squire guy or whatever the heck he's called, the Meister. And, we've obviously seen ravens fly in this show, and apparently they can cover quite the distance very quickly. So they're all still kin to Odin's ravens or something because they can haul. Right. So, yeah, I think, like, he got back right in the evening. That raven goes out. She gets the word in the morning. Basically,
takes immediately off.
Does her eating breakfast and throwing on her sweet winter garb and
heads out.
Flew out. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say we're on the same day, and she gets there that afternoon. I would say afternoon because it's not dark yet, but it's almost dark by the time Jon's by himself. That's all I'm saying.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, I was just saying I don't think like days or weeks passed.
Right. Oh no. Yeah, no, we're on the same day of the original when they woke up and Thoros was dead. I think we're on the same day.
Okay, then I just got confused. Ignore me. Everyone, just ignore me.
Everybody's yelling at their car like, "No, idiot! It's only this many hours." So we know they're all bored. The Hound gets bored and starts throwing rocks, and he pegs that one guy right in the jaw and knocks his whole bottom jawline off. And that was hilarious. And then he chucks a second rock, and it was way too heavy, and it didn't make it far enough, and it just skitters across the ice that's refrozen, and then he's just like, oh fuck.
I did like like how it knocked the jaw off, and then the next one goes and like you see the White Walker look over and he's just everything is open and just dangling there, and then he like looks up like,
I'm coming for you.
gotcha, you know. Like, okay, just because I'm dead, man, doesn't think I don't notice crap.
Exactly. So that's when the big fight starts, and everybody just starts going to town. There's a lot of hammer time going on. Somewhere in the middle of it, it's really cool because, and they don't make a point of saying it or mentioning it, but we did see it with the polar bear. A lot of those guys are sporting dragon glass weapons. Jorah has 2 dragon glass daggers. That's what he used to kill the polar bear with one shot. Tormund has a dragon glass battle axe that he's carrying, because he usually carries a normal axe, but he has a dragon glass axe.
You know,
the Hound
I
has the
didn't
hammer.
even see. I knew Jorah had, you know, the little daggers, but like I actually I must have not seen I thought I saw an axe, but I wasn't sure because I didn't recall it in the rest of the fight, because he basically you know, gets manhandled
Snagged.
by like 30 of them real quick, and he still somehow like is fighting them all off, which is ridiculously impressive.
He rolled over and punched that guy in the face. It was great.
Yeah, oh yeah, he was like, I'm on my back, dude. I'm still knocking somebody out. But yeah, because I was like, why? I was like, they just mined a bazillion pounds of dragon glass. Like, why did they not forge a couple weapons out of that before this trip? Like, I didn't.
They did.
I thought I didn't see anybody with them. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm glad you confirmed what I thought I saw, because I was like, these guys are dumb.
Right. No, and that's the only way they could even stay in the fight is the fact that one shot, you know, kills them directly, you know, without any hesitation. In fact, the Hound even drops it after smashing the ice for that one walker to fall through with the hammer. He drops the hammer. You see him pull out 2 of his own dagger style things from his coat that are dragon glass. He starts using them for the rest of the fight as well. John yells "fall back" on a 10x10 piece of rock. I'm like, where are you falling back to, man?
Well, I think he was thinking, you know,
get away from the edge.
Like, you guys are getting yanked down into the water because it's breaking there, so just fall back. And I think he was also thinking, like, if it's frozen, maybe we can go this way. And then all of a sudden, you know, like, the one guy falls off the edge and he just falls into that horde. And I think that's when John was like, well, that ain't happening.
As they're falling back, we almost lose, like you mentioned before, we almost lose Tormund to a shit ton that came out of the water. Those are the ones that fell through earlier or fell through during the battle, but they snag him, and then a few more fall on top of him. They drag him under, and I was yelling. I was hollering at the screen. I was like, not this way. I was like, don't let him go down yet. Like it just got good with him. Like, don't. And you know, the Hound saves him, which is great. I was not ready to lose Tormund yet. He needs to go out way better.
Oh no, dude. Yeah, if he doesn't like get with his lady, because he is so utterly in love with her, and like just like she realizes, like, you know, like, let's face it, man, she was always like, people always looked at her weird because she was a knight, and he's like the only dude that appreciates her like utter badness, like badassness, and like how tall, like he's the dude that appreciates her for everything she is. Like, that man loves that woman. Like, it's awesome. It's awesome. So there's no way that if they kill him off before, like, he can at least like do whatever his, you know, like, I hope to when I like see her again moment. Like, right. I'll be mad. I won't watch Game of Thrones. I'll just be like, nah, I'm done. I'm out. I quit.
Right, and they lose the last of their red shirts during this final fallback. So the one guy gets pulled off the side and is killed, and then the guy who falls backwards into the crowd of them dies too. So they're down to only the 5. So only Jon, Jorah, Tormund, Beric, and the Hound are left.
Say that 5 times fast.
I got it written down. I probably can. Oh, and I was watching. So back to the behind the scenes stuff. That the stunt man who did that fall, that was literally a 10-foot trust fall to more stunt people that were dressed as zombies. Like it wasn't any sort of CGI. They just had a camera above him and said, "You're falling back on these folks, and they're going to snag you." And that's what they did. That was really cool.
No, I mean that's awesome, but at the same time, like you're like even if you, I mean I know stuntmen and women are just bonkers people who have like that no flight response like whatsoever,
right.
but like I'm just saying like maybe that dude looked down and was like, I'm cool with falling into people, but zombies? Like, like like I wonder if he was just like, oh, that is still not friendly. Like, nah, I don't like that at all.
He's like, well, at least they weren't like zombie clowns, so that's okay.
Yeah, you're just gonna keep beating that point home today, aren't you?
That's where we're going today. Today's clowns all day. So, and then soon after that, the dragons arrive, all three of them, and it's another just hail of fire, and just destroys, just mows down sections of the army. We've seen this before. Breaking the ice. I mean, probably making the water a real nice temperature for when other folks fall into it later on. I mean, just tearing through everybody.
Oh yeah, and she also got her flight patterns right this time around because she was streaking across them in like good spots.
Right, like yeah, let's run through the whole line of them and not just run down the. Yeah, we don't go to T, we go with exactly. So where do we go from there? They start loading the dragon up. She pulls her best like Terminator. Come with me if you want to live, which is hilarious because she was in Terminator Genesis. But she goes to reach out for John, and he sees that if he gets on, the rest of the group ain't gonna get on. So he starts going after the whites, which everybody's griping like, just get on the damn dragon and just get everybody out of there.
Yeah, man. Like I got it. Like he swiped a couple dudes or whatever, and like I was like, okay, because there was only a couple, right? Like there was, everybody was getting on the dragons, and John's like, you know what? I'm going to go knock out. And I thought he was going to do the smart thing. But again, this show is proving again how dumb they can all be sometimes, I feel like. And he, instead of just taking out the two straggler guys and like make sure they had a clear flight out of there.
They were close.
He just keeps walking down into the crowd and is like
you are 50, you are 30 yards. You are 30 yards from that dragon now, and shit's about to get real.
Yeah.
And then, so the Night King gets handed his javelin, and in his best, Tom Brady impression, he doesn't aim at the dragon that's only, 200 yards in front of him, sitting there still while everybody's getting on it. He goes for the one who's in mid-flight and times the pattern and takes out Viserion with that hit that was just brutal. I mean, just fire for he hit him somewhere. From what I said and what I saw, it looks like he hit him pretty much in the same spot that Danny's dragon, the Drogon, was hit in the shoulder, but it punctured through whatever makes the fire, because the fire was like coming out of the hole because he was in the middle of breathing fire when he got hit, and then it's just blood just strewn everywhere as that thing comes down for a crash landing, and then the look on Danny's, oh man, the dragon screaming, Danny's face, all that, like the dragon with Drogon screaming, the other dragon coming in almost like as Viserion was going down, the other dragon was coming in behind him like, dude, can I help you out? Like, are you like, can I do anything? Like, you're just going down, bro.
You were feeling the emotion.
I wasn't ready for Lose the Dragon yet. I thought it was going to happen during like whenever the big battle is next season. But as a caveat, we'll talk about it in a minute because I want to make sure I take full advantage of getting something right for once on this podcast. So John sees the dragon go down. Dragon goes down, breaks the ice, falls, slides into the water, goes underwater. He's gone. John's still fighting everybody and their brother out there, and they've finally loaded the white onto the dragon. All four of them left are on the dragon with Danny, and they're waiting for John. John notices that the Night King is going for a second javelin, knowing it's going to go for Drogon, and he tells them to take off. Danny hesitates for a half second, and then she goes, and what I really like that they showed that what Jon did was dumb. And they proved your point that he's being real stupid, because when that dragon took off, the force of his wings taking them off the ground blew an entire line of them just off.
Okay.
Off
I'm
their
glad
feet.
you brought that up, because this will be my one and only gripe with the show. I made a comment. I was like, man, Tyrion's getting like real comfortable just with floating around, walking. As he was talking to Dany with those dragons, I was like, man, he's just getting real comfortable. And
I know what
he
you were
didn't get
going
blown
with.
away when they flew off on the cliff's edge, right? Like, and then all of a sudden now, when this dragon takes off, it blows a whole army. I was like, that.
To only minorly throw a hole in your scenario. They did do that where they dropped off the edge of the cliff and then just opened their wings and took off. So there may not have been as much of a force as them just getting to the edge of the cliff to fall off of it to then take to the skies.
I'm just saying
Maybe.
Those things
But
are
yes.
so big that even them kind of half
moving.
If they just decided to, I wish everybody could see me right now, just wiggle their arms, that would cause enough movement to knock Tyrion over, hands down, because he just, let's face it, he's a tiny guy.
Yep, I see what you're coming from. I see what you're saying, and I will give you that. That's a very good point. So the dragon's taken off, and the Night King aims up, and unlike Rickon, this dragon zigs and zags as opposed to just going straight with the arrows. Am I going to explain this joke? Please, dear God. Rickon is the one who got the arrow during the Battle of the Bastards, and everybody's like, why didn't he just zigzag? Just run in a zigzag pattern. Nobody's going to hit you.
Yeah, touche. Yeah. It wasn't even putting it together. I was like, yeah, why are you talking about that guy? He's dead.
He should have run serpentine, man. You got to run in a serpentine. Everybody knows that. That's how you avoid a sniper. So during this, Jon goes under, which is actually Jon going under is what causes Dany to take off. I forgot it was before the dragon took off. She's like, oh, well, guess I got to go now. So she takes off. Jon goes underwater, and then the battle is over. The dragon's taken off. Longclaws is laying next to the hole he went in, and then Jon comes up and out of the water. Something that was probably not intended, but there was people all over the internet who were just screaming about how cool it was. When you get a shot of Longclaw before Jon comes out of the water, his eyes are white, like the Longclaws, the direwolf on the pommel of the sword, his eyes are white like they're closed. And then when Jon comes up out of the water, the eyes turn black. And I'm pretty sure it was just reflecting the white and then reflecting his gloves and his outfit he was wearing. But it was kind of a neat. I don't even think they even planned it, but it was something that everybody was screaming about the day after the show was on. They were like, "Oh, his eyes opened up when Jon came out of the water." I was like, "That's it." I went back and watched it again. It does look like it happens, but I'm pretty sure it's just shadows. But it was pretty cool.
Huh. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
I didn't even.
Yeah. If you didn't notice it, go back and check that. Anybody listening, go back and check that. It's a neat little thing. Just kind of did they mean to do that? Because half the time you don't know if something was actually. That's so cool. Did you actually mean to do that to us?
Yeah, they're like,
so
no, dude, we're so good. We just accidentally.
Yeah, we actually make awesome. So the whites, Jon recovers himself. The whites see him, and he's like, and I gotta fight again. And then out of nowhere, in his farewell showing on the series, Uncle Benjen, Cold Hands, comes through with the flaming chain weapon, flaming chainmail, and he.
Yeah, but hasn't he just been out
mace.
there tracking the White Walkers basically the whole?
Oh yeah, he was
around.
since.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Since the last time he made an appearance on the show, basically didn't he just say hey, yeah, I'm kind of stuck in between death and being a White Walker. So I'm just gonna go out here, kind of as a going out in a blaze of glory, and I'm gonna.
I thought it was a great send-off.
Take out his. Oh yeah, but I was saying he's been out there the whole time, so I really don't think he came out of nowhere. You know what I'm saying? I think he's been tracking them, but he has to stay, so far behind them so they don't.
Agreed.
you know.
But for us viewers, it was the send off because it was his. I believe it, we won't see that actor again. I believe he's done.
Oh yeah,
I don't-
definitely. Like
Yeah.
like no, you saw his like flaming. I don't know, what do you want to call it?
It's like a mace. It's like a long mace. It's got, I don't know, but yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah.
But it was pretty emotional too when John, he had to Uncle Benjamin, he had to convey who he was because John's never seen him. Remember, the whole thing from seasons ago was John going out to look for him, and Uncle Benjamin saved one of his other brothers while they were north of the wall, and I believe met up with Gilly and Sam for a moment, but John has never seen him since like the very first episode. And Benjen knows that. So the first thing he does when he gets off that horse, when John's like, "Oh, who just saved me?" He just shows his face, and John's like, that's why he looks so surprised. He's like, "Uncle Benjen." He's like, "Jesus, it's been 7 friggin' seasons."
Yeah.
Like, this is what I started doing, so it was
one of the
it was
reasons
cool.
I'm here.
Right. The whole reason this is all happening is you. So he shows him his face to just convey to him, "You can trust me. Get on the horse. Get out of here. I can't come with you." And he smacks the horse. John takes off. Benjen goes down to the crowd of them, and a pretty amazing, pretty awesome fight scene comes to an end. They move us to Eastwatch while they're loading. So we move from that scene to Eastwatch. The Hound and Tormund, they're loading the boat, like one of the boats that they travel back and forth to the main ships in. Loads the white on it. They get a good. We went through battle. We're even more buddies than before. Man nod between the two of them.
Yeah, they're like, "Love you,
And-
bro. Love you."
And then Beric walks up and during his talk with Clegane says, "We'll meet again, Clegane." And the Hound's like, "Fucking hope not."
Yeah.
So we know that the Hound is heading. We know the Hound is with the White, and he's heading south to King's Landing, which will put him in arm's reach of his brother. And the whole internet is blowing up right now with like Clegane Bowl 2017. Like it's gonna be this is what's gonna happen. It's gonna be their fight 2.0 with the Hound who has dragon glass weapons and his undead brother. So Clegane Bowl is like the new thing everybody's talking about because they're hoping they're gonna get into it before the season's over. Danny's at the top of the wall and is looking for John to see if he comes, and Jorah's telling her that she needs to leave. They need to get on the road. We gotta get these boats and get down to King's Landing. And just as they're turning around, the horn sounds, and Ryder approaching is the call. And of course it's John. They immediately like take his ass off that horse directly to the boat, and the next thing we see is him getting stripped down to his scarred up abs for Danny to see. And so you see her recognize, like, this is the first time she's seen him without a shirt on, and more than likely not the last time. And she sees the scars and she sees the stab wounds. Like, I'm going to talk about this later, but they weren't joking. Like, he's been stabbed in the heart, so how is this guy alive type thing. So she recognizes, the sacrifice that he's put forward. So
Yeah,
that's the end
and
of
by
that.
the way, dude, like his scars were gnarly. Like,
Yeah, they're just nasty.
they're-
They're not healing.
Yeah, like I was like waiting for like a bot fly or something to start like wiggling out of one of those things.
I'm sure they ooze every now and then. So next to last scene. Well, actually, almost. Last scene at Winterfell for sure. So we see Sansa go into a room, which we learn very quickly that it's Arya's room, and she noticeably, and I'm bringing this up on purpose, she noticeably closes the door. You hear it click, like the big wooden door in that room. She closes it behind her when she goes in. She starts digging around in the room. She sees the dagger on the table, and she looks under the bed and finds Arya's bag of faces, which is awesome. They're just like laying in a satchel in her room, which is fantastic. And I think one of them was Walder Frey. I believe the second face she pulls out is Walder Frey. And then, as she's looking through the bag, Arya is in the room. She's standing in the room. There's no door click. there's no noise at all. She's just suddenly behind her, which is friggin' awesome. I was like, man, were you okay? So where were you? Were you? This is just, we know you're a ninja. Like, you know, you may do dumb kid stuff and have dumb fights. If you're having the dumb sister banter that we think you have, let's not forget you just got into a room without making any noise whatsoever. Whether you were hiding in the room or you got through the door without making whatever. I don't care how you did it, but it was very subtle. That, oh yeah, we didn't hear a door open, but there she friggin' is, right there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was the point, you know, to illustrate how ridiculously awesome she is and how pretty much everything is just like a game to her. I feel like,
Yep.
like
Yeah,
she is
going
playing
through the
her
motions.
own game, doing her own thing.
Right. And so Sansa and her have another spat, and well, I wouldn't call it a spat. Arya just starts getting creepy, and she talks about her training. She talks about, you know, Sansa asks her, "What are these?" She goes, "They're my faces." She says, "Where did you get them?" And she goes, "Well, when I was at Bravos, I was training to become a faceless man." And Sansa's like, "What's a faceless man?" And she just keeps going, and she explains to Sansa, while holding the dagger, that she's like, I can become anyone else. I can speak in their voice, and I could wear their face. And this is another one of my predictions. If we are on the stupid sister banter path, once Sansa gets done shitting herself in this scene because Arya's freaking her out, she goes back in her head and goes, if she can do this, then maybe we can work together. And hopefully this, like Arya's creepy speech, brings that into her head about, okay, well, good, she can just kill Littlefinger, wear his face, she can run the Veil, I can run this, we have both armies, no one's the wiser.
Yeah.
I hope that she took that into account once she got done freaking out, because Sansa was scaring the crap out of her. But then, or not Sansa, Arya was scaring the crap out of her. But Arya does offer her the blade. Like, she's like, and this is where I also think that if they think that Littlefinger is listening to everything that's happening, then the unspoken handing of the blade to Sansa is like, hey, if they weren't all in on it together now, if those two weren't in collusion now against Littlefinger, that unspoken and unseen thing by the ears that listened for him, then Sansa knows. She's like, I'm not going to kill you. You can tell I got in the room without you hearing me. I had this dagger. I could kill you right now, wear your face, and be you right now, but I'm choosing not to be. So here's the dagger. Let's girl power come together and kill this dude. So I'm hoping that's what that's going to be the beginnings of. That's what that scene did.
Yeah, I mean, also didn't Arya say kind of along the lines of listen to my story and I'll be on my way, and she's like, I'll leave then. And,
right, she doesn't.
And then she shuts the door and leaves. So was that also what was that all about? Because I got the impression that she was just like, all right, I'm done. I'm out of here. I mean, I don't think she is, but it's one of the scenes okay, did they just fight and now what? That's that? She's like, yeah, I don't trust you. You're whatever. I'm out of here.
Right.
I
don't know. We'll see. I hope that this part gets resolved next episode and we're done with it, and those two can be whatever they're going to be to each other and to the Starks as a whole. So, all right, we move on. We're at sea. Jon wakes up from his coma or whatever he's in, his just being exhausted, to see Dany is the first thing he sees, which, personally, I could think of worse ways to wake up. I'm like, okay, in the ways of waking up, that works. That's fine. That's nice. That's the first face you see. So Jon immediately apologizes for her losing one of her dragons. And then we get to the third mention of children in this episode. So they're just beating us over the head with it. And she tells him, the dragons are the only children I will ever have. Do you understand? And, are you talking to Jon? Are you talking to the camera again? You guys getting this? I can't have any kids. So when I miraculously am pregnant next season or next episode, that you all should be like, whoa, you weren't supposed to have kids. I know that because you guys told me 3 fucking times last episode that you couldn't have kids. So the conversation continues. John says, "Thank you, Danny," and she's like, "Who's the last person that called me Danny? Was it my brother?" He's like, "That's not company you want to keep." And he says, "How about my queen?" He said, and that was a big, there's a lot of silence. She was taking in the fact that he's okay. He goes, "I'd bend the knee, but I really can't move right now. Like, I'm really messed up." So, they're definitely going to bang it out either next episode or definitely beginning of next season.
Well, plus he also did that like prolong, like he held her hand, when she tried to get away, he kind of grabbed it like,
"Nah, girl.
See what? There's something here. Like, I'm not gonna say it, so you better wise up."
Right. And then the scene resolves to the most awkward "get some rest." Like, when she said "get some rest," and like he was like he made this weird face and like laid his head back and like he like closed his eyes really, really weirdly, and I was just waiting for him to like peek one open as she like left the room. I was like, "What are you doing, dude? Like, of all this great acting scene, you end up with this like weird, like go to sleep." It was just, I just thought it was funny. So that's all. The way he just go back and watch it. If anybody, I know I can see you questioning me, but anybody listening, just when she says "get some rest," like the weird faces he makes when he closes his eyes and gets comfy was just, I was like, "What are you doing, man? Like, just close your eyes, Christ." So that finishes up that scene, and then we have our final little scene back at the battle where the dragon went down. You have a whole bunch of the whites with giant chains that, did you pick this up, Corey? Where were those chains? Like, where'd they get those chains from?
Look, dude, with that whole army, man, I just assume that he's got a little bit of everything because he's been marching forever. So right. I just think, yeah, like, okay, again, conveniently there's chains for him to pull out. But let's also assume that this is not just a... Obviously, this is not just a meandering south group of White Walkers or zombies. Like, they're intelligent, they're ungodly, even the skeletons, like...
Fast.
Yeah, so, like, I even though they don't show it, like, I imagine there is a whole weaponry thing following them,
like a support battalion.
Yeah, right.
Like
there's a whole brigade of other like, this is just the front group, you know what I'm saying? Like, and the only reason we saw the other horsemen was because John was surrounded, not because it was like they caught some humans. Like, I feel like then it would have been like whatever, but because of the scream and the alarm and like, like, that was John. But I imagine that, I don't want to say they're siege machines because of the wall, but I would imagine, like, it's not just going to be I just find it hard to believe that it's just a horde of zombies. You know what I'm saying? Especially now that
mass walking.
Yeah, especially now that they just pulled out a zombie dragon.
Right. And that's how the episode ends is the Night King turning Viserion into a white dragon, ice dragon. Now, this is where I want to get a little uppity, because I actually got a prediction right, because this is what I said last episode of the one before, that I believe there was going to be a zombie dragon at some point, and we get it this episode. I did not think it was going to be this quick, like I said earlier, so I'm glad to have gotten one of my predictions correct, but that was kind of a given. But yeah, that's the episode. That was pretty it was a lot to take in, whether it be complaints. I hope they go somewhere. I hope they lead somewhere other than where we think they are. I'd like some more twists that aren't just twists to be twists, but actually, help convey more of their overarching plot. I think.
Yeah, like, it's not just something that happened, like, for lack of better description, screen time kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm hoping you're right. Like some of this stuff gets hashed out, and if it is remotely as close to a 2-hour slot, like yeah, I feel like they'll cover just about
Everything.
everything in there, and that's why these last, 6 episodes, sometimes you're like, why? But I think it's because the last one is going to be so long, so
Right.
you gotta keep it fresh, like in the mind where it's, and the writers are good, so they're like, we're gonna bring it right to the point of where you guys are almost fed up with us, and
I hope
then
that's the
and
case.
then we're gonna
I
lay
really do.
and we're gonna lay down the ultimate. Why would you ever doubt us, dingbats? And we're all
We
gonna
know
go.
you're gonna watch.
Yep. All right, I will be back. I'll be back for the next season. Gotcha.
Yep, exactly. I hope that that's how the next episode turns out. I hope that there's a. I don't think we need a cliffhanger. I like them to just wrap up some things to a certain extent, and then set up the pieces for the next season, and just not make it like a cliffhanger. Nothing weird like that. Just we know what we've accomplished now. It's done, and we know what's coming next is blank. The major battle against the whites. That kind of stuff. All right, let's go through.
Well, yeah, I think the last episode. Well, I think the last episode is going to be your fight against the whites. This
You think it's?
season.
You think so?
Yeah, and I also, because then I think what's going to happen is you're going to have, your Lannister fight
For the next season.
all next season. That's what it's going to be. It's going to be like
All
the
right.
White Walkers are out of the way, and Cersei's like, okay, time for me to get my revenge.
That could be. I don't think it's going to happen next episode, but I would love to be wrong. I just feel like it would be too rushed to get them all the way down to King's Landing. But we know that things have passage of time are not a concern this season. So, all right, let's roll through the trailer. I wrote down some stuff, just some pinpoints, some things that I saw when I was like pausing my way through the 30-minute trailer. First thing you see are the Unsullied in the battle formation, all their different squares of in battle formation, which is pretty awesome. So we know we get to see Grey Worm next week. Then you see a shot of King's Landing, and all of Euron Greyjoy's fleet is just parked in the bay there. You see the Unsullied formation again, and a cool but also you see the Dothraki riding their horses through the formation, which is pretty friggin' sweet. Like, so they have all these different squares of their battalions, and they had the horses of Dothraki just swarming right through them for like some battle charge. I'm guessing we're being led to believe. And then we see Bronn and Jaime looking on from the parapets at the castle at King's Landing. So what's really cool with that is that Bronn, even though he was talking a big game a couple episodes ago about like the dragons is where I draw the line, apparently he didn't draw the line, or Jaime offered him more if he stays on, type thing. So we know Bronn is back. Then we see Sansa all alone at Winterfell on one of their, higher things, just kind of contemplating stuff. You don't see Arya, you don't see Littlefinger hanging off to the side, so she's by herself thinking, which is good. I mean, she's not being influenced by anybody. Then you see a shot of a landing boat by the ocean. Somebody, I think it's Theon, is like stumbling and falling to the shoreline. I don't know what that's all about, but I'm pretty sure it was Theon. I don't know if he learned that. It looked like it was like a defeated stumble, so maybe he learned that. Who knows? Maybe his sister's dead. I don't know. Who knows? But Theon, it looks like Theon was reacting to something. Then we see Cersei approaching a courtyard, the courtyard in the Red Keep, where her, the king's quarters are, or the queen's quarters are. It's where the mountain ripped that guy's like insides out when the Septons people were the Sparrows were attacking him.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
They went to fight him, and he ripped that guy's like jaw and everything completely out. That's the area where she was approaching, and then we see an old Colosseum, like Roman style, like old worn down Colosseum, and you see Jon, Tyrion, Varys, Podrick, Jorah, Davos, Brienne, some Dothraki guys, all entering this Colosseum. And then we see Jaime, Cersei, and Qyburn also in the same Colosseum. And then Jon's talking to I'm guessing Cersei says, "There's only one war that matters, and it's here, and it is here." So I don't think he means here as in like between our two factions. I believe that's when he's going to bring in the White and say, "This is the war that matters," and he's going to say, "It's here, like right over there. Let me bring him on in. Come on in, show him what we got." So that was how the trailer for next episode ends.
Ah, nice. Glad you watch all that, because every time you talk about it, I just like my imagination goes bonkers trying to picture the scene in my head. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be so cool.
Yeah, no, next week is gonna be great, and the fact that you found out that it's gonna be a movie length, I'm super excited. Before we go, you wanted to bring up, so we talk about Game of Thrones all right now, but we're thinking in the future as shows space out and things don't fall in our laps that we want to review episode after episode, or if we start picking up a TV show that doesn't require an hour and a half of talking, we may talk about a few TV shows or what we're watching or the things that we're into. So you wanted to give a quick breakdown of a show that you just found out.
Okay, yeah, so I just stumbled across this amazing television show called Blood Drive. It's on the Sci-Fi Network. The whole season is out right now, so you can go chain watch it, and it is absurd to a whole level of awesomeness. And there's no way to describe it. It is alt-punk meets steampunk
Grindhouse.
Meets race car driving meets grindhouse meets every other absurdity you can think of in the world, and it is awesome.
It's like if John Carpenter and Quentin Tarantino had a baby.
Yeah, and the baby was delicious somehow. Like, you actually wanted to eat the baby. Like, it is that kind of weird. Like, you question why you're watching it and your decisions, but you're like, I don't feel wrong about this at all. This is freaking amazing. Like, take it for what it's worth. Don't go in like, oh, this is too crazy. Like, it is supposed to be too much and too, like, okay, that is really, they can't do that. Like, no, they can. This whole world is totally bonkers, and it's awesome.
Nice.
Please watch it.
Yeah, exactly. And tweet at us. Let us know if you guys have watched that. And a side note, Sci-Fi is starting to do this more and more often. I noticed it last season with the final season of 12 Monkeys. Sci-Fi is liking to drop an entire season of a show like Netflix style. So because they understand that their viewing base watches things like that. They don't watch it week by week. They want to watch it all at once. So it's kind of cool that Sci-Fi is starting to do that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Right. So, hey, everybody, thanks for hanging on this long for this another marathon podcast. I'm sure next week's will be just as long as well. We are at twodadsreview.com, and check us out on Twitter and Facebook and all the other places and social media you can think of, and just search under Two Dads Review. Tweet at us. Let us know what you thought of the show. Let us know what you thought of the episode. Let us know what you think what you want to see next week. And keep sharing this out. Keep sharing with all your friends. So thanks again for all the listeners who joined this week for the first time or found us a few weeks back. Thanks again. We'll talk to you guys next week.
All right, guys. Take care. Enjoy.